The rise of mainstream veganism and meat-free alternatives. Mainstream Vegan. A new movement for non-dairy vegetarians was started by Donald Watson, an English animal rights advocate and founder of the Vegan Society in November 1944. Watson called this movement the Vegan Movement or Veganism to mark the beginning and end of vegetarian. The principle of emancipation of animals from exploitation by man is how he defined the movement. The vegan movement has come a long way since then. One of the main reasons being that veganism is fundamentally so much more about than just saving animals. So, what trends are currently buzzing about? Veganuary. The increased availability of vegan options across the nation may have inspired more Brits to try a plant-based diet. Restaurant options in the UK have increased by 237% over the past year, and nearly 3 million have pledged to ditch some animal-based food for Veganuary. This stat is from Google Trends, and you can clearly see how the popularity has increased over the past 5 years. Greggs Vegan Sausage Roll is next. The launch of the controversial vegan alternative to the sausage classic follows strong consumer demand, including a petition by PETA last year, which was signed by more than 20,000 people. Although Piers Morgan, a prominent English journalist, wasn't happy, nobody was waiting for a vegan bloody sausage, you PC ravaged clowns. The 20,000 people who signed the petition, however, were not disappointed. Next, Vegans vs Hisby. On the 13th of January, 30 activists from Direct Action Everywhere held a demonstration at Hisby, an ethical supermarket in central Brighton, sparking a major online debate about whether meat from local high-welfare animals with no growth hormones, undyed or bulked out with water, additives or bits from other animals was still ethical. On the one hand, you have activists saying free range and local are labels that make people feel more comfortable about animal exploitation and murder, but there is nothing ethical about farming and killing animals or such things as happy meat, milk or eggs. On the other hand, Hisby, a social enterprise committed to enabling mainstream supermarket shoppers to buy good quality, locally sourced meat, includes produce that supports high animal welfare, natural farming, reduced waste and doing good business beyond profits. So, what's happening politically? The current political environment does not have a direct role in the vegan food industry. However, a large chunk of the industry is influenced by talk about climate change. A summit was held in Paris in 2015 and attended by the ministers of 196 participating countries in order to come to an agreement on how to avoid the Earth's temperature from increasing to a maximum of 1.5 degrees Celsius. In contrast, 5 degrees would make the world be virtually inhabitable. New research by the Oxford Martin Programme on the Future of Food and the Nuffield Department of Population Health shows that by placing tax on red meat could prevent more than 220,000 deaths and save over $40 billion in healthcare costs every year. The Vegan Society has welcomed this idea and foresees a shift to more plant-based proteins instead, as livestock is a huge burden when it comes to climate change. In China, the government has even pledged to reduce their meat consumption by 50%. What's happening economically? The UK currently has an unemployment rate of an all-time low of 4.1%, meaning more consumers have the economic capacity to pay for healthier foods, as these can be more costly than fast food alternatives. In a study published by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Marco Springman and his colleagues at the University of Oxford looked at the current meat trend and calculated how much it would cost the global economy if it were to sustain that amount of meat consumed, compared to if they were to shift to the recommended diet of more fruit and veg. These savings are usually related to healthcare and climate-related costs. Although veganism has often been named elitist or expensive, the growing number of vegans have turned this niche into a growing everyday lifestyle, enabling the cost of a vegan diet to be reduced drastically. The Vegan Society in America say that the idea that meat is a necessity is a wealthy Western phenomenon. So, what's happening socially then? As we said before, the reason for the expansion of veganism appears to be the mitigation of the perception of vegan beyond its traditional stereotype of being all about animal welfare. Here you can see that there are other reasons for being a vegan. 23% are vegan because of animal welfare, a whopping 35% have made the switch because of health reasons. 12% have become vegan because they perceive the diet to help with weight loss. 13% chose the diet for cleaner ingredients. 7% are vegan because of social responsibility, and 10% because of environmental responsibility. Another reason for the boom in vegan food is the growing popularity of flexitarianism, or casual vegetarianism, a movement whereby consumers will choose to increasingly consume plant-based meals without completely eliminating meat. One of the main drivers of vegan food is social media and influencers. Thanks, Internet! Celebrities who are vegan include Venus and Serena Williams, Benedict Cumberbatch, Anthony Kiedis, Ariana Grande, Russell Brand, Liam Hemsworth, Miley Cyrus, Jared Leto, J-Lo, Jay-Z and Beyonce, Olivia Wilde and Woody Harrelson. Millennials also want to be part of what is known as a food tribe, a close-knit viral community based on personal values and behaviours. These members can drive the question of company morals and motives and push for higher order benefits and demand social good. Supportive social networks can impact the decision to maintain a vegan lifestyle. In May 2016, the Vegan Society commissioned Ipsos Mori to poll 10,000 people on their dietary habits, and Britain's vegan population had increased from 150,000 to 542,000 in the space of a decade. Of those, 63% were female, and significantly for veganism future growth, almost half were in the 15 to 34 age range category. What's happening to technology? There has been a lot of recent buzz around creating bleeding burgers filled with 20 grams of plant protein and 3D printing steaks made of pea protein and seaweed. Many advancements with technology have been made recently, enabling vegan alternatives to become much more like the real thing. A new and emerging industry is the clean meat industry, which is also called the lab coat industry, where a Dutch startup is working to create a plant-based serum in order to grow meat-like products in the lab. In America, New Milk has launched an organic almond milk dispenser in Whole Foods. Technological progress and digitalization are also likely to reinvent the way that consumers interact with the food that they consume through the delivery of a more personal experience. This offers food makers a unique opportunity to place the individual consumer at the heart of their innovation efforts. What's happening environmentally? Climate change is quite literally a hot topic at the moment, with scientists claiming that we need to quite drastically change our living habits in order to prevent the world from rising temperatures, flooding, and other natural disasters. One of the bigger reasons for global warming is simply because of the masses of cows producing methane through farts and burps, otherwise known as enteric fermentation, in the industrial-sized beef production farms. According to The Guardian, Western countries will need to reduce beef consumption by 90% in order to prevent climate change. Trendwatching.com mentioned that one of the major trends for 2019 is that open source solutions are a must-have. The vegan lifestyle is all about sustainable living. A lot of people ask if veganism has reached its peak interest, and the answer is no, it's still growing. As you can see, Germany is still leading the way to a more vegan society as science progresses. However, the UK is not far behind. The global meat substitute market is expected to garner revenue of $5.2 billion by 2020, according to the Allied Market Research. What's going on in the competitive landscape? Presently, there is moderate competition in the vegan meat alternative food industry. Competition is pretty high, which means firms will have to make sure that their product is innovative and fresh in order to differentiate them from the rest and create a competitive advantage. However, there are low barriers to entry, meaning that it is fairly easy to grab a slice of the market. That means moderate number of firms and a moderate rivalry of firms. The bargaining power of consumers is quite strong, as they demand a good quality experience from a relatively reasonable price depending on the innovation of the product. That means low switching costs, moderate number of providers and a large availability of substitutes. Currently, suppliers in the vegan food industry have a strong bargaining power as well, due to being able to determine the price depending on the process of creating alternatives, but this will certainly eventually change with the increased competition from suppliers entering the market. That means a moderate number of suppliers and moderate overall supply. There are many substitutes to meat alternatives, namely anything that isn't meat. The largest threat is probably home cooking. There are millions of websites, apps, blogs, videos and books that provide consumers with information how to make delicious vegan meals at home. A point of differentiation, however, is that these vegan meat alternative firms have developed unique recipes in order to create yummy, ready-made products for those that can't eat meat. That means high substitute availability and low switching costs. There is a high threat of new entrants, as the vegan meat alternative market is currently a very lucrative industry. Tesco, the nation's leading supermarket, launched Wicked Kitchen, its own brand of vegan ready meals. Within months, the brand had exceeded sales expectations, and Tesco more than doubled the range. Waitrose, Morrisons, Iceland and Sainsbury's have followed in Tesco's lead by launching their own brand vegan products. In America, the startups Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat continue to lead the way in the US alternative meat industry. That means highly variable capital costs and moderate cost of brand development. So, could you see yourself jumping on board the vegan train? Why not try Veganebuary? Yes, I'm making that a thing. Or are you wondering what we would be doing with all those chickens, cows, pigs and the like that we wouldn't be eating? They'll need feeding too. And remember this when you think you've had enough. Vegans are tired of non-vegans always banging on about vegans, always banging on about being vegans, was the title of an article on newsthumb.com. Yes, that's one trend.